Hello everyone, welcome back to Potted Planet Entertainment. My name is Chris, and in case you don't know, I review movies and I rank them on a scale of 0 to 100 in increments of 5. But I'm actually not going to be doing that today. Now first off, if you're hearing cicada noises, that's because I'm filming this early in the morning. I just woke up. So I apologize for that. But today I'm going to be doing something a little different. Today I'm going to be talking about 10 movies that people really seem to overall really enjoy that I personally don't really enjoy that much. So, I got 10 movies here. So number 10 is Crank. Now, this isn't a movie that everyone loves, but this is a movie that I've noticed that people primarily do like. It stars Jason Statham. It came out in the early 2000s, and it's about this guy who is poisoned, and he has to keep his heart rate he has to keep his adrenaline up high, and he has to keep his heart constantly beating, otherwise the poison will kill him. And it's about him running around through, I think, Los Angeles, while he's trying to keep his heart rate up, and he's trying to get an antidote to this. And I don't really like this movie. I didn't even like the second one very much. I like this one slightly more than the sequel to it. But this movie, this is actually considered to be one of Statham's better movies, and I definitely don't think this is one of his better movies. It's extremely trashy. It's like, okay, I can handle Family Guy, but for me, South Park has always just been too much. And that's the way I feel about this movie. It's just too much. It's a little bit too trashy for me. And there are moments of it that are kind of stupid, especially in the second one. The second one's way more stupid than this one, but... Okay, number 9 is Independence Day. This was a movie I bought that I was really hyped to watch. And I didn't really have much of an issue with it, but I did have one big flaw with it that completely ruined this movie for me. And it was that Will Smith is the main hero in this movie, right? And it tells a story about aliens that are invading, and humans are going to fight back against these aliens so that they don't take over Earth. That's basically the plot of the film. And Will Smith is the main hero in this movie. But he's barely in the movie. He actually doesn't even come into the film until over 20 minutes into it. He doesn't have much to do, and he's hardly there. And they advertise him like he's the main hero, but really the main hero is the President of the United States. Will Smith plays a member of the military, and the President of the United States is one of the heroes of this film as well. But he gets far more screen time than Will Smith does. There's a scene where the President is talking to this alien they're both on the other side of this window. And he's talking to this alien, and he's like, what do you want? And stuff like that. And I'm watching this scene. It's a great scene. And I'm like, why isn't that Will Smith? That shouldn't be him. That should be Will Smith. Will Smith is so underutilized in this film. He does hardly anything, and he's barely there. And it's so weird, because I've never seen a movie before where the main hero is a sidekick character. That doesn't make any sense. Also, at the end of the movie, he and Jeff Goldblum, they save the day way too easily. Way too easily. Their plan goes exactly according to plan. It just goes way too easily. Number 8 is The Hunger Games. I haven't seen this movie in a long time, and I actually do plan on rewatching it and doing a review for it. But from what I remember from the time I watched this movie, I absolutely despised it. I watched this movie when I was in elementary school or middle school, and I absolutely hated it. It was extremely boring. It took them forever to get to the Hunger Games, and the action was filmed terribly. There was so much shaky cam that was used in this movie because back then, action movies had this, shaky cam pandemic, and this was one of the movies that fell victim to it. And there's even this fight scene at the end of the film between two guys that are fighting on top of the weapon shack. And the camera is about 2 inches away from them, and it's going like this, and I can't see anything. It's one of the worst movie fights I've ever seen because I can't see it. Number 7 is Caddyshack. I don't hate this movie. I don't even hate Crank or Independence Day. I just don't really like them that much. And I don't hate this movie either. It's just, it's not funny. I love the actors and the characters in this film. I mean, come on. It's got Bill Murray, Chevy Chase. It was directed by Harold Ramis. I mean, there's so much right about this movie. There's so much goodness about this movie. There's so much that I like. It's just, it's not funny. When I watch this movie, it gets nothing more out of me than a couple... That's about it. It's really not funny. It's entertaining, and there's some great scenes in this film. It's just not funny. Number 6 is the John Wick series. Yeah, okay, this one's going to trigger some people. I hate John Wick. I hate him. I hate those movies. I watched all 3 of those movies because my girlfriend really likes them, and she made me watch them with her, and I absolutely hated them. They were so unbelievably monotonous because there's absolutely no plot or story to them. It's absolutely nothing but constant action. Also, the characters in the movie are kind of boring. They're just dark and depressing. Like, there's no life in these movies, and everybody always sits around in a dark room staring at the wall. Like, when there's not action, it's just, you'll see somebody sitting on a couch sipping wine or something in a dark room staring around. It's like, don't you people ever watch TV or something? Like, but it's so unbelievably monotonous because there's nothing but action. Now, I really like to have a great story when I watch a film, and there's no story in these movies. None. It's just constant fighting, and it's so monotonous to the point where it's actually a little boring. But that's just my opinion. Number 5 is Drive. Yeah, I really didn't like this that much. Drive was a movie that I thought... There were some good things about it. It's just... It was too gory for me. I don't really complain about gore, but I just felt like the gore in this movie really didn't need to be there. And it's just... I can't explain it. There just wasn't really much that I liked about it. It's just... I just didn't like it. I can't really explain it. I just didn't really like this movie. Number 4 is Inglourious Basterds. Oh yeah, I hated this. I hated this. I turned this off an hour into it because I hated it so much. I've never seen this whole movie because I hate it just that much. So me and my girlfriend were like scrolling through Netflix one day, and we came across that, and we were like, hey, I heard this is great. We should watch this. So we watched it. And after an hour into it, I said, I'm bored. And she just picked up the remote and turned it off. I don't know if she was enjoying it or not. She didn't say anything. She just picked up the remote and turned it off. But I hated it. I was so bored. So bored. It was just so incredibly boring to me. Now, I'm not the biggest Tarantino fan. I like Tarantino, but I don't love him. Pulp Fiction I thought was okay. And I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Loved it. I thought it was great. But this one didn't do it for me. Number 3 is Spider-Man 2. I don't hate this movie. I actually kind of like it. It's just, I like it better than Spider-Man 3 for sure. Here's my problem with this film. When you make a superhero movie, you have to find a good balance between the superhero and the man behind the mask. You have to find a good balance of the two. And this movie, I really feel like failed to do that. Because this movie, to me, is really nothing more than a soap opera about Peter Parker. And I don't care. I don't care about watching a soap opera about Peter Parker. This movie feels to me like they wanted to make a soap opera about Peter Parker, but they knew that nobody would go to see that. And so they had to find a way to shoehorn Spider-Man into it. And so Spider-Man's barely in the movie, and it just doesn't really work for me. I like the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I thought those were okay, but at least they found a good balance between Peter Parker and Spider-Man, right? the first Spider-Man movie, I felt like found the good balance between Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Spider-Man 3, I also felt like, even though I don't like that movie that much, they found that good balance between Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And so the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, they found that good balance. This movie has so much Peter Parker in it that it really forgets to be a superhero movie. In fact, at some point in the movie, there's a scene where where Peter Parker runs into a burning building to save a kid. And you can tell that they put that in there because they watched the movie and were like, this doesn't have enough action. You can tell because it really felt shoehorned into the film. And so you can tell they put that in there because they didn't have enough action. And there's not enough action in it. There's not enough Spider-Man. It's just a soap opera about Peter Parker, and I just don't really care that much. It's all right. It's all right. I would much rather watch that first one. I love that first Spider-Man movie. Number 2 is Aliens. This movie, I don't hate this movie, but it's just, it doesn't have near enough action in it. And again, y'all know that I'm not one to complain that an action movie doesn't have enough action, because John Wick has too much action. You gotta find that balance between story and action. And I felt like the John Wick movies failed to do that. Well, I felt like this failed to do it as well. But see, John Wick fails to find the balance between story and action by having too much action. This movie fails to have find the balance between story and action by having too much story. There's almost no action in this. It's advertised as an action movie, but there's like 2 minutes of action throughout the whole movie, and it's really boring. It's really boring. I know people love this movie, and it's like one of the greatest movies ever made, and I respect that, but it's just not for me. And number 1 is Alien. I really don't like this movie. I got a buddy of mine who's a movie buff who adores the Alien movie. Now, the third Alien movie is just trash. I hate that movie, and a lot of people do. Okay, that one's garbage. Okay, but the first 2 are considered 2 of the best movies ever made. I really don't like them. I actually liked Aliens more than this one. This movie was so incredibly boring. This movie and Inglourious Basterds are 2 of the most boring movies I have ever seen before in my life. This is a horror movie, right? Now, y'all know I'm not a big horror fan, but I can appreciate a good horror movie. I know a good horror movie when I see one. This isn't one to me. First of all, it's not scary at all. Which I guess it's not really supposed to be anymore. I think at this point it's really more of a movie like Jaws. But there's just so much talking. So much talking. There's so much silent moments in this movie too. There's a lot of silence in this movie. And it's just, it's so boring. It's so boring. And one of the things I don't like about this, another thing I don't like about this movie, okay. So, this is a spoiler for the movie in case you've never seen it. But one of the characters on the ship ends up, like, they find out that he's a robot. And he attacks Ripley, who's the main protagonist. And he takes her, right? And he throws her up against a wall. And then it gets this long shot going around his head. And then he grabs her again and throws her up against another wall. And I'm like, it ruins that intensity that was in the moment, because it takes a long shot of him just standing there staring forward, and it interrupts the intensity of the moment. And this movie does have a few moments like that. I just find this movie incredibly boring. I watched it once, right? I watched it, and then I was like, okay, now I know what to expect. I have no expectations. So a little while later, I rewatched the movie and I was like, no expectations. I know what to expect. Let's just go into this movie and reanalyze this. And I actually liked it less the second time. I remember I had the DVD case open and I was waiting for the movie to end so I could pop it out, put it in the disc and go do something, and put it in the case and go do something else. I couldn't wait for it to end. I'm sorry, I don't get it with this movie. It bores me to death. The special effects are great and they still hold up, but that's about all I can say for it. I really hate Alien. I hate Alien. I'm sorry. I just do. I hate it. Okay, so hopefully I didn't trigger y'all too much. These are 10 movies that people love that I really don't love. Now, again, some of these movies I think are alright, but I definitely don't love. Some of these movies I hate, but anyway, it's just my opinion. It's film. Film is subjective. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to film. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to Potty Plant Entertainment for more and hit the like button. Leave movie review suggestions down in the comments down below. Follow me on Instagram at Potty Plant Entertainment for channel updates, and much love, guys.